This one next, and it's as South Africa marks a significant turnaround at power utility Eskom. The country is now benefiting from more than 200 days of no load shedding. We're looking at the recipe for sustained improvement and sustainability with the chair of the board, Dr. Mteto Nyati. Our specific focus this morning is on the people at Eskom, from the technical teams all the way to the board. Dr. Nyati, thank you very much for joining us. We really do appreciate your time. I want to reflect on something you said recently, that Eskom's fundamental problem has to do with people, with leadership, and that poor maintenance was just a symptom of that. Share with us what you had in mind.
Thank you so much, Iman, for having me. And indeed, I agree with that statement. You know, some of us, as we look at Eskom, would be experiencing load shedding, would be thinking all of this is a technical related issues. But if you double click on that and look deeply under the surface, you start to realize that this is just a symptom of the many issues that we have around people. It could be linked to, or it was linked to leadership, leadership at all levels, starting from the CEO all the way to the board, and then all the way down to the power station general managers. So that's one. The other aspect of people is really about the culture, you know, a culture where you have people that are not being held accountable. A culture where you've got leaders that were leading, but were actually, they were in leadership positions, but were not leading. Have managers that were not holding people accountable. You know, we've got an environment where there is no link between performance and pay. All of that, that's people-related issues. And that has been at the center of the problems linked to Eskom, Iman.
This turnaround is being credited to, among others, yourself, Becky Ngumalo from Eskom Generation, Khalib Kassim, former acting CEO and CFO, Dan Morikane, the CEO. Talk to the nation about how you all collaborate. I mean, we'll talk about the deep diagnostic work that you had to do all the way from the top all the way to the bottom. But how do you guys work together?
So I'll start by saying that we were put together by the late Minister Pravin Gordhan. I'm talking now about the new board. And that, to me, is the first point. You need to have a board that have got the expertise, that are in line with the challenges of the business that they are looking after. We've got 7 engineers on the board. We've got CAs, we've got unionists, and we've got culture experts on the board. These are people whose expertise really talk to the challenges that are facing Eskom. The second thing is that you need to have a board that is working very closely with the leaders of the business. So we told ourselves that we are going to be an engaged board, and we are going to be working closely to making sure that we appoint the right people in the right roles. And the first person that we appointed was Becky Ngumalo, who was the group executive for Generation. And he, in turn, he had the responsibility to go out there and make sure that each and every power station, we put the right people in those roles. And the good thing, he understood that environment. He knew the people that were competent, and he found those people, he placed them in the right roles, and held them accountable. So that's the other aspect of it. And then, of course, it took some time to go and get the CEO of the business. So all of this, working very closely with the late Minister Pravin Gordhan, and also Dr. Kgosi Ramokgopa. Very, very important relationships. Those are key stakeholders. You need to actively manage those stakeholders. And we found that in the past, that was not done.
You're doing what author and consultant Jim Collins reflects and recommends: get the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus. So you're talking about getting the right people on the bus. Talk to us about getting the wrong people off the bus and what that process was and is like.
So what happened was that we left that to management. We cannot be interfering with that as the board. It was left to Becky Ngumalo together with the human capital function to do that. The good thing is that the people were moved around. They had good experience. They are the right people for Eskom, but may not have been in the right roles. So they continued to find roles and are happily contributing towards the success of Eskom, but in different roles, in roles which they themselves are happy to be in. And that's another big part of putting people in right roles. Most of the times they are not happy with what they're doing, and you need to relieve them of that pain. And that's what we did. And we as the board just continue to support leadership as Becky together with his leadership team in doing that.
Dr. Nyati, the country is coming to terms, because you talked about the previous leadership, right? So the country is coming to terms with how we remember previous leaders at a very critical utility like Eskom. Of course, the former CEO, Andre de Ruyter's name is going to come on. Not too long ago, the Public Enterprise Department revealed in Parliament Eskom spending 65 billion rand in diesel to power the open cycle gas turbines. And this was with the aim of generating power. Bennett talked about in 2023 alone, Eskom spending more than 23 billion on diesel to reduce just the impact and severity of load shedding. And this was still much more than what de Ruyter spent during his tenure, because in his 3 years between January 2020, February 2023, Eskom reported losses of around 25 billion rand, and there was a downturn in the power plant performance. How do you measure his contribution, especially from a legacy perspective, but also against what he essentially said were predatory forces encircling and bleeding Eskom?
Look, Imam, I'm really not in the business of evaluating a leader that has left us. You know, he made his contribution, and we took from what he did, and we built on that. And my focus really, together with that one of the leadership of Eskom, was to first understand what our challenges were. And we took the time to go deep within the organization. We came up with a 2-year plan, and that plan was approved by the board in March 2023. And that's what we're implementing right now. And we are 18 months into that plan, and we were expecting by the end of March 2024 to be sitting with an energy availability factor of 65%. We missed that. We achieved a EAF of 61%. But a month later, we're already over that target. So where we are now, we're exactly where we thought we would be. We cannot declare load shedding as something that we have won yet, because we've got a number of actions that we need to be taking between now and end of March 2024. But I have no doubt that the team is working very hard, and we will be ticking off those actions and coming out to South Africa and communicating clearly that the load shedding is something that is behind us.
And it's very gracious of you, Dr. Nyati, not to reflect on Andre de Ruyter in the way that people would perhaps like you to reflect, in terms of being really critical for the benefit of evaluating what worked and what didn't, and we can appreciate that. But also, the nation is guided by what its leaders at any given time are saying about very important institutions, because he did reflect as recently as May this year, this is de Ruyter, that Eskom, when he joined, was a patient in terminal decline almost. Despite his best efforts, it was unfixable in its current form, couldn't be resurrected to its former glory. What you're sharing with us now is a very different prognosis, given the plans that you've got in place, the targets that you say you're meeting and you're chasing. And even though we can't declare the battle or the war won against a load shedding, you're certainly on track. So this is what we take, right, from our leaders.
The team we found, our view was that their view of the problem statement was a wrong one. They felt that they've got an aging fleet, and the answer to that aging fleet was to retire it and also ask the private sector to come in and provide renewables. So that was the direction that this team was looking at things. On close examination of the problem, we came with a different problem statement, which said that actually the fleet, there's no problem with age. The problem is reliability, and you can address that reliability through proper maintenance. So we went ahead, did the budgeting, that allowed us to be able to go and buy the necessary spares that were required. We also created a budget so that we could be running a lot more on the open cycle gas turbines, because we will be doing maintenance too much to minimize the impact on South Africa. We set up a budget of 30 billion rand for last year on diesel. You look at that and that's a lot of diesel. Yes, we had to go through that, but it was by design, because it helped us, it gave us the opportunity. Where we are now is because of the investment
Yeah.
that we made last year. So I'm happy with the tough decisions that we made as a team.
Okay, we've got to come out, Dr. Nyati, just perhaps a yes or no. In this path towards this turnaround, continuing turnaround, are we likely to see any shake-ups?
Any shake-ups? Look, not really now. I mean, really, we've gone past that. What you are seeing now, we have been bringing in new skills into Eskom. And now we're starting to think about the future of Eskom. It's no longer about trying to survive load shedding. We need to build this organization for the future. And then last week announced 4 leaders that are going to be joining the business, that are going to be taking this company to the future.
Dr. Mteto Nyati, we continue to watch the journey of Eskom. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it, Chairman of the Board. A lot more around this corner. Do stay with us.